building plan regulations. Iba community mourns oil bunkering explosion victims 1 year after. National grid collapses again. On the foreign scene, scores killed in an airstrike in Lebanon. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. I am Ifeyemi Andrew. The news continues shortly. The new Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Evans BP, says he will ensure strict compliance with approved building plans for property owners and developers across the state. At an inaugural meeting with the permanent secretary, directors, and staff of the ministry, the commissioner said he will ensure full implementation of the Physical Planning Development Law of the state. Mr. BP warned that the Rivers State government will no longer tolerate a situation where developers make deliberate adjustments or completely deviate from approved building plans in the execution of their project without recourse to the ministry.
Whosoever that does not have a building plan or building approval, I think we look into such. If you are being given an approval for 3-story, 2-story, he must adhere to that. It must not exceed what is being approved for your land. If you are being given approval for 2-story building, it must be 2-story building. Green areas must be respected.
The commissioner also promised to improve the physical landscape and aesthetics of old and new GRA, as well as other areas of Port Harcourt.
I've come to correct things that were not right. Because of things that I need, I'm going to step on toes. We're also going to look at how we are going to beautify the state. Mostly the GRA areas, both new and old GRA, is going to beautify. We're going to see how we make a difference.
In his remarks, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, Wisdom Hebron, assured the new Commissioner of maximum cooperation to foster a harmonious work environment. Meanwhile, the chairman of Obiakpo Local Government Area, Chijioke Ihunwo, has renamed the Obio Legislative Building to the Senator John Umbata Legislative Building. Mr. Ihunwo announced this during the solidarity visit by the Forum of Chairmen of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, NYCN, to his office in Port Harcourt. He assured residents that his administration is committed to delivering on its promises. He also said that in the coming days, several projects will be flagged off and commissioned as part of activities marking the first 100 days of his administration.
This is Obiakpo legislative block where the councillors used to have their sitting, and we have looked at it because we have all these sons in our local government who have supported us, who has our people at heart. So on that note, we want to rename this legislative block to Senator John Umbata legislative block. And I want to assure our people that we won't disappoint them. I want to also appreciate His Excellency the Governor of Rivers State for the opportunity he has given to me to serve my people as first the caretaker committee chairman and today the elected chairman of our local government.
Earlier, leader of the delegation and former chairman of NYCN Cross Rivers State, Dan Obo, thanked Governor Fubara for giving one of their own the opportunity to serve as a local government chairman.
As people, you have made us proud, you have thanked us. You've also shown that it is possible and that there's nothing God cannot. And so we thought that it would be nice that we don't let the Nigerian people know that what His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, has done. He has not just set a pace for the Nigerian youth. He has also encouraged us that anything we want, we can go ahead and keep our hands where we get. And so, on behalf of all your colleagues who serve with you as chairman, we are grateful to the Governor and we are grateful to the people of Rivers State. We are grateful to the people of Obia you fit at this time to stand in the gap as the executive chairman of Obiakpor local government?
In another development, the executive chairman of the Gborogbose Foundation, Leslie Gborogbose, is calling for reconciliation among Rivers State political leaders. In a statement following recent court rulings, Dr. Gborogbose, a former governorship candidate in the 2023 Rivers State election, called on political leaders to pursue reconciliation for the greater good of the state. He said true reconciliation is not about granting any side an advantage, but about bringing all parties together to prioritize the interests of Rivers State. He said while legal proceedings continue, efforts should also be made to foster mutual understanding and brotherly dialogue. He reminded the leaders that the people of Rivers State are looking up to them to create jobs, combat poverty, invest in human capital, and promote rural development. Dr. Gborogbose urged all political figures to let love, peace, forgiveness, righteousness, and good governance guide their actions. He concluded by appealing to them to set aside their differences and work together for the collective progress of Rivers State. In the meantime, the PDP National Publicity Secretary Debo Ologbonagba says the Congress held in Rivers State has not been officially ratified by the parties. I beg your pardon. In the meantime, the former PDP National Publicity Secretary, Kola Ologbondiyan, says the Congress held in Rivers State has not been officially ratified by the party's National Executive Committee, NEC. Mr. Ologbondiyan, who spoke on Nigerian Info FM's Morning Crossfire, said for a Congress to be valid and concluded, it must go through the next formal approval process.
Once they are passed at the National Working Committee level, they must be brought back. They must be brought to the National Executive Committee, which has the final say on congresses. So until the Congress goes to pass the ratification of the National Executive Committee, it cannot be said to have been concluded. It has not gone through the ratification of the National Executive Committee. That is the last stage it has to go through.
Speaking on the court judgment preventing interference in the leadership of the PDP in Rivers State, Mr. Ologbondiyan said the ruling contradicts the party's laws. He urged members to follow the party's constitution.
That will not align with the laws on the party. No, it's not about anybody's, it's what the Constitution says. So when you conduct Congress, you take it, the results go to the NWC. From the NWC, it goes to the National Executive Committee. Except all that is happening in the party now is devoted to setting aside the Constitution or marching on the Constitution. I think that it's still advisable that if we still have a party, we have a semblance of what is called a party, we should align ourselves with the rules that guide that party.
Away from that, Iba community in Emoha local government area of Rivers State is still grappling with the devastating effects of the explosion that occurred at an illegal oil bunkering site on October 1, 2023, claiming over 30 lives. Among the victims were pregnant women and young men who had hoped to build a better future through the illicit trade. Catch this special report detailing the aftermath of the tragic fire by 5 minutes past 11 a.m. today on 92.3 Nigeria Info FM Port Harcourt. Still to come, national power grid collapses again. Stay tuned. The chairman of Ichie local government area, Uzodimma Nwafor, has approved the appointment of new aides. Dr. Nwafor, in his statement, said Jude C. Njoku is now Chief of Staff, Chinedu Onyeche as Acting Chief Security Advisor, CSO, Ben Chuks Okere as Executive Assistant, Philip Amadi as Personal Assistant, Prince Oke Nodim as Chief Protocol 1, Obinna Njoku as Revenue Chairman, Chukwuemeka Njoku as Revenue Secretary, and Emmanuel Nwokogba as Senior Special Assistant on Special Duties. Others are Martina Wanyanwu as Chairman of the Legal Team and Samuel Nweke as Secretary. Friday Wankwo was appointed as Special Assistant on Legal Matters and Naji Endurance for Youth Affairs. Oluwa Robinson was also appointed as Chief Press Secretary. Moving on. The World Bank says it will give an additional $500 million to Nigeria as part of its COVID-19 intervention. The World Bank Task Team leader, Lara Edsado, made the commitment during his speech at the Peer Learning and Experience Sharing event of the Nigeria Community Action for Resilience and Economic Stimulus Program, also known as NG Cares, in Port Harcourt. Dr. Edsado, represented by Folusho Okumadewa, assured that the World Bank will sustain efforts in partnership with the federal and state governments to assist families and businesses affected by man-made and natural shocks. The national coordinator of NG Cares, Abdul Karim Obaje, also spoke.
So far, amount disbursed is $645 million, which is 88% level of disbursement to the state. And in terms of Naira, we are giving out 625 billion as reimbursement for work done by the states. And this is wonderful over a period of 3 years. When we hear from stakeholders, from beneficiaries, that they are happy with the intervention, it looks state managed, as if these people are not speaking the truth. But when you hear the Honorable Commissioner come out here before everybody, just like Dr. Abigail has done for us, Honorable, that they are proud of what NGKS is doing. They are proud to be associated with NGKS.
On his part, the Rivers State Commissioner for Commerce and Industry, John Otamiri, pledged the support of the Rivers State government to ventures that cater for the welfare and well-being of the people.
The leader of the state and his Rivers First mantra is associated to programs that will alleviate the poverty rampaging Nigeria as a country. And the only good thing we'll need to do is to stand by you. You hear all sorts of stories rampaging Rivers State. We don't have any problem in Rivers State. It's only when you come in, you see that we have enabling environments for people to come in, do what you want to do, and go back.
Away from that, the NNPC Limited has agreed to sell petrol to members of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria at 995 naira per litre. It followed the intervention of the Department of State Services in the controversy between the two parties. The National Vice President of IBMAN, Ahmed Fashola, said the intervention of the DSS solved a lot of problems facing marketers. Mr. Fashola also confirmed that through their intervention, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority agreed to pay the association's outstanding 10 billion naira while resolving issues about the direct purchase of petrol from the Dangote refinery. Iba community in Emoha local government area, Rivers State, is still grappling with the devastating effects of the explosion that occurred at an illegal oil bunkering site on October 1, 2023, claiming over 30 lives. Among the victims were pregnant women and young men who had hoped to build a better future through the illicit trade.
That very day, I told her not to go to the place. I begged her so much because of situation that we have on our home. After when I begged her, then I went out to buy something and she decided not to go on my presence. So when I went out to buy something, and come back. I discovered that she have go to the place. Before this thing happened, I gave her some money to keep that I want to use for business. Since then, I don't know where the money is. And the actual place that affected me so much is for the pregnancy, 4 months pregnancy, and her kindness to me.
Listen to a special report detailing the aftermath of the tragic fire incident at exactly 5 minutes past 11 a.m. today on 92.3 Nigerian FM, Port Harcourt. Away from that now, the national electricity grid collapsed again on Monday evening. The grid collapsed at about 6:18 p.m. The Enugu Electricity Distribution Company and their counterpart in Abuja confirmed the grid collapse in separate statements. The Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution PLC is silent on this, but parts of the state capital was without electricity last night. Reacting to this, the Executive Director, Electricity Consumer Protection Advocacy Center, Prince Will Okorie, regretted that the grid keeps collapsing despite the hike in electricity tariff. Mr. Okorie said the unmetered customers would still be made to pay for the period of the collapse, wondering that what the government has been doing to stop the incident.
And now, we'll bring you news from around the world.
The Lebanese Health Ministry says at least 21 people have been killed and 8 others injured in a rare Israeli airstrike in northern Lebanon. The strike hit a residential building in Aito, an predominantly Christian village far from the areas where the Israeli military has carried out thousands of strikes targeting the armed Shia Islamist group Hezbollah. Residents said a family recently displaced by the war had been living there.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
On the news this morning, you heard that the Rivers State government is set to enforce the building plan regulations. Iba community is still mourning the oil bunkering explosion victims 1 year after. The national grid has collapsed again. On the foreign scene, scores of people have been killed in an airstrike in Lebanon. The news was edited by Choma Ezewanfo. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp message to 0808-721-7215. My name is Ifeyemi Andrew. Good morning and thank you for your time.